Hey guys, you know what I hear all the time? I wish I could have a garden, but I just don't have the space. Or I have one raised bed and it's just not enough. Well, today we're continuing our series, Small Space, Big Garden, where we are getting rid of that kind of thinking. Whether you're on a patio, a balcony, or even a small garden, you can grow so much more than you think. And I'm not just saying that, I'm putting it into practice, or starting to put it into practice with this tiny 7x14 space. This season, we're gonna see just how much I can grow in this little area. I'm also going to include some small raised bed tips because in the last couple of videos, I've had the comments that I have a small space, but you're mainly focusing on patios and containers. You're right, small space gardening can still be in the ground or in raised beds. So today we're walking you through 7 genius ways to grow more food in less space, and these are not just theories. These are things I've put into practice in my gardens over the past 20-25 years, and they work really well. The first thing is to grow vertical. You need to realize that the square space on the ground is not the only square space you have, even in that same area. We need to think outside of the box and at least make it a cube. Think up, think in 3 dimensions. You can add trellises for cucumbers, pole beans, peas, or tomatoes. You can use the eaves of the house, a patio overhang, or something like this shepherd's hook to grow things or get things up off the ground in hanging baskets. You can grow all kinds of things in hanging baskets: lettuce, herbs, strawberries. I'm going to be growing a tomato upside down in a bucket. You can attach wall pockets to fences or walls. They're perfect for shallow-rooted greens or flowers or strawberries. You can use a vertical planting tower like these 2 green stalk here. You can grow almost anything in a green stalk planter. As I was planting this green stalk up, I started to think about how much space all of these plants would take up in a normal 4x8 raised bed. It would probably take up 2 to 3 4x8 raised beds. And here I am growing all of those in 2 square feet. Depending on the model you have, this is the leaf and this is the original. You're getting to grow 30 to 42 plants in 2 square feet. Now, Greenstock is actually having their Mother's Day sale right now. It's the biggest sale they have of the year. And in fact, our next level discount code works on top of the Mother's Day savings. So I will leave a link and the additional discount code down in the video description. If you've thought about getting a green stock, this is the time to jump on it. Now we're going to talk about layering your plants, or what could be called canopy gardening. You can take a lesson from nature, from the forest. Plants grow in different levels. They're layered, and you can mimic the same behavior at home in your garden. In this bed, I've sowed okra seeds. Okra grow pretty tall, and they're kind of sparsely leafed out, so they don't cast a ton of shade. So you can use those as a canopy, as can you use tomatoes or sunflowers. Mid-sized plants like bush beans or kale or basil can go beneath those. And then beneath that, in some cases, you can plant lettuces and other greens that are more shade tolerant. In fact, the shade will help them get through the warmer summer days. Now, if you have super hot summer days, like we do, there's nothing getting lettuce through those days. So pick up those again in the fall. You're using vertical space and lighting and shade in tandem. It's beautiful, it's productive, and it keeps the ground moist and the weeds down. As a bonus, every year I plant basil underneath my tomatoes. Basil actually has a very strong scent, stronger than the scent of tomato plants. Well, the moth that lays the eggs that brings the dreaded tomato hornworm, they find tomato plants by scent. And so if you can mask the scent with basil planted all around your tomatoes, you're not going to get those hornworms. I've done that for the past 7 or 8 years, and I have not had hornworms on my tomatoes. The third way to maximize space in a small garden is by using the square foot gardening method. It's a great method for beginners. It's all about planting intensively but intelligently. Instead of spacing plants in rows, you divide your bed into 1-foot squares, and each square gets planted based on how much space that plant actually needs. You can grow 1 tomato in 1 square. You can grow 4 lettuce in 1 square. You can grow 9 bush beans in 1 square. and 16 carrots or radishes in 1 square. And you can find other amounts of crops you want to grow in each square online and how many will fit. So you've reduced wasted space, improved yields, and it just looks really satisfying. You can use sticks on the edges of the bed to wrap the string around, or you can just drive tiny little nails in and tie the strings around that. Space them every foot and you'll end up with a grid. It's amazing how much food you can grow in just a 4x4 bed by using this method. It's so hot, I gotta get in the shade. But let's talk about number 4, which is succession planting. This is all about keeping your garden in motion. Most gardeners plant once in the spring and then wait. And then whatever happens, whatever they harvest. But in most cases, you can plant 3 or 4 crops in the same location for that spring summer season. It just takes a little planning, that's all. So you start in early spring with lettuce, spinach, and radishes. So in late spring or early summer, those are done. You can pull them up and plant bush beans and cucumbers in the same spot. In late summer, those are done. Pull them out, plant something like kale, carrots, lettuce. Those will take you right through the fall and actually take some frost so you can push that harvest a little further. Seed starting trays or a little indoor spot to keep starting seedlings will make sure you always have things ready to go once it's time to pull that previous crop out. Think of your crops like a revolving door. The more revolutions, the more harvests. If you want to know more information on how long plants take to produce, therefore how much succession you'll have, check out our free garden guide. I will put the link down in the video description. All right, back into the sun for number 5. You got to choose the right plant for the right place. And that could mean several things, sun, shade, whatever. But in terms of spacing, you want to find things that say compact or dwarf or patio size. And those are the ones that are going to take up less space. And usually those still produce a pretty big harvest. So almost everything here in this green stock. So bush beans, they're small. This is a patio tomato. Peppers don't grow too big to begin with, or you can keep them trimmed a little bit. The cucumber is a space master. It's much easier to keep things under control when you have dwarf or smaller varieties right from the get-go. That way they won't crowd each other out once they get a couple months down the road. All right, I can get back in the shade because this next one is something that I did at my last house with great success. And I'm going to show you on the screen how I did it. And that is growing strawberries in a rain gutter. Now, this doesn't just apply to strawberries. This can apply to any shallow-rooted crop like lettuces, arugula, a lot of the greens. And yes, I'm talking about the same type of rain gutter that takes the water off your roof. So you want to use clean, unused aluminum or vinyl gutters. You can repurpose old ones if they're safe and non-toxic. Drill some drainage holes every 6 to 8 inches along the bottom. Cap the ends or use gutter end caps to hold in the soil. And then mount them on a sunny wall, a fence, or railing at about waist height for easy harvesting. Now you can stack these. You could use an old pallet, lean it against the wall, and stack 3 or 4, maybe a foot apart vertically. You want to fill it with really lightweight, great quality potting mix enriched with compost. Plant your strawberry starts about 8 to 10 inches apart and water regularly. Gutters dry out quickly, so consider a drip line for watering, and those should probably go on every day for about 5 to 10 minutes. The best part of it is you can grow tons of strawberries where nothing else would grow, on the side of a shed, the side of a wall, the side of your house. I guess the best part is homegrown strawberries, ripe and warm from the sun. All right, number 7 is interplanting. Companion planting's overachieving cousin. The idea is to layer in different crops that grow at different speeds or heights in the same space at the same time, unlike succession sowing. So examples would be radishes with carrots. Radishes grow fast and they're harvested before the carrots even fill in. Basil with tomatoes. I already talked about the companion planting perks for these, but they also love the same conditions, and it's 2 of the best smells of summer, tomatoes and basil. They're great in the kitchen, even better in the garden. Lettuce between peppers is another great one. Lettuce is harvested by the time the peppers really start to fill out. You're maximizing your space and you're improving your plant health in the process. It can look chaotic, but in the best way. The truth is, you don't need acres to grow a good amount of food. You just got to think like a plant and maximize every square inch, every bit of light, and every bit of time. One more tip that involves too much explanation is to grow squash like zucchini. Not climbing squash, not winter squash, but things like zucchini, grow them vertically. How do you do that? Check that video right there, and I'll see you next time.